I'm not a TikTok first person. I'm an Instagram first. Though I have a better following I have a higher following, but the engagement's better on Instagram. So when brands want to work with me, I show them Instagram.
So we talked on our last podcast about what posting like no one's watching looks like. And I wanted to go through each platform and kind of talk about what that means specifically, because each platform works a little differently. Behavior on them is different. And so when we say post like no one's watching, it doesn't just mean kind of throw spaghetti at the wall. We mean specific things that will help you a little bit more than that.
Yeah, like having a plan and having a plan per platform and having a long form strategy along with a short form strategy. So it's not just a social media strategy, it's a all-inclusive marketing strategy.
Yeah. And so I thought we could go platform by platform and just give some tips about what we mean by posting like no one's watching on those platforms, and then kind of just helpful reminders about, different parts of the app to use and like little tips and tricks that we've learned along the way. So let's start with Instagram. What do you think posting like no one's watching looks like to you on Instagram?
Instagram has so many areas to post on, and there's also threads as well. So we're going to do that one kind of last, but Instagram has stories. It has the profile. It has the reels. It has posts. And I feel like I'm missing one. Live. Yeah, and I feel like live is one that not very many people are using. That can mean a couple things. When it comes to your Reels strategy, you want to have a variety of types of posts, direct to camera, trending posts. You want to also do maybe some with music that aren't exactly trending. So for example, if you are somebody that's in the fashion industry, maybe it is you're talking to the camera about why you love this sweater. Maybe another video is you are showing off the sweater with an outfit. Maybe another one is you're just wearing the outfit and doing a trending audio about, related to fashion. So then you have your posts, and then you also want to share those to stories, because stories are kind of like the breaking news part, and you can put links to things there. So reels wise, you want to do a variety of reels. When it comes to posts, you want to do a variety of posts. That could be just a picture of something, a photo dump where it's a carousel, but it's a photo dump of photos. Yeah. It could also be educational. So in that whole, going back to that whole the sweater analogy, you could post like, these are the sweaters I wore this week. Here's how I style sweaters in a carousel, and maybe some graphics on ways to style a sweater. And you want to post those to stories, because stories are like your breaking news, as I mentioned earlier.
So basically making sure that you are using all the parts of the app, which we talk about too. And so how many posts, like you're supposed to be posting like no one's watching. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to post every day, but you're kind of hitting like all these little targets.
So I would say that one post a day can count as either in your profile feed, your Reels feed, or your stories. If you want to go all gangbusters and hit all the places every day, great. And you can do that if you're creating content every day. But I will tell people like, stories can count as a post. And there'll be some creators that all they do is post stories. Yeah. That's all they do is post stories. And that's fine. Is it original content that you're posting?
Not always.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm sharing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's original.
Yeah.
I have gotten better, I would say, and this is for my personal account. I have gotten better at doing a reel and then doing a post and then kind of sharing those things to stories too, to kind of get like people who are checking their stories all the time, because I know that that's the breaking news area.
Yeah, it's breaking news, and everything else is kind of longer form, because your reel that you posted 3 days ago is probably showing up for somebody like within a week. I'll see content that brands I love posted last week, because I just never go through the feed as much. I'll get stuck on the Reels feed, and then I'll realize, wait, I'm in the Reels feed, and I'll go back to like the main feed. Yeah, and then Instagram hasn't come to my phone yet, but they're changing the feeds.
Oh, crazy.
So yeah, yes.
So more on that.
So more on that when that happens.
So what if a post doesn't do well, or a reel doesn't get the engagement or the reach that you think it should? Would you ever want to, and again, this is like going against posting like no one's watching, would you ever want to delete anything?
No, just keep it there.
Don't delete your posts or your reels.
But I want to go back, because you were asking like, how many times a week should you post?
Yes.
I'm going to say like you should post 5 times a week at least in your feed and reels. And that can be a combination of carousels, photos, and reels. Your stories, you want to post at least every day. Just remember, it's breaking news. When you post there and people interact with it there, it's also going to show them your posts in the feed. So if you are active every day in the stories and people are active with you, actively could mean just watching, it's going to show that content there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I will often get a lot more reactions and comments on my stories than I do on my actual posts.
Yeah, I've been really trying to do more polls and questions. And I asked a question yesterday on my personal brand about how do you get back to sleep at 3 a.m.? And I had 10 different answers and they were really good answers. Like one person did say like, I want to know too. So,
okay, so that's Instagram. What about Facebook? What are some ways that we can keep posting like no one's watching on Facebook?
So everybody should have a personal Facebook page and everybody should have a brand Facebook page. How I approach that may be different from other people because I'm a personal brand. If you are a small business owner and you are not utilizing your personal brand page on Facebook, like your personal Facebook account, along with your business account, that is kind of a missed area because your friends and family could potentially be your customers or tell people about you and keep you top of mind, like LinkedIn, which we'll talk about later. But I feel like if you're posting regularly on your Instagram, connect that to Facebook and repost. So right now, I'm going to kind of walk back. So for me, I'll use me as an example. I post to Instagram and then it sends it to my personal Facebook page.
Okay.
Okay. But I also then send it to my business page for my personal brand. Or we could use Dash as an example. I should be reposting things from Dash to my personal page so we can have our friends and family remember we do marketing. Mm-hmm. So how I approach it is differently than other people. So I have my personal Facebook page and my brand Facebook page. So utilize your personal Facebook page and also your brand's Facebook page at the same time so that people, your friends and family can keep top of mind of that.
Yeah. And this brings up a really good point that it used to be if you were a small business owner, you kept personal and business separate. And that we hear this a lot of like, I need to have a separate account for this and a separate account for that and a separate thing for that. And there's much more of a blend now. And I think what you're saying speaks to that. It's like, it's okay to remind your friends and family that you have a business and that you do, whatever you do, or you sell your products or whatever, because they are going to be your number one referrers. Take advantage of that.
And some people don't want to do that because they are worried that their friends and family are getting bombarded, or they're worried how they look and sound to their friends and family. And I will definitely say, since I have stepped more into the micro influencer space, that my friends and family are often the first ones to say, I love that lipstick. I love that healthcare company you're using. Tell me more about your hair loss journey. Like, I'm going through the same thing. And like Friday, I ran into 2 people and they specifically stopped and asked me about, hey, I saw this hair loss video. I'm having hair loss too. That kind of motivates me to create more content around that and long form content, which is a whole nother discussion about that. But your friends and family want to know. So how many times a week on Facebook should you be posting? I would say that you should dual post from Instagram to Facebook, and that's the same amount.
Yeah. And I usually share, like if I'm sharing to stories and Instagram, it's also sharing to Facebook stories. So I think those things can just kind of be connected. Okay, Pinterest. So Pinterest is one of my favorite topics. A lot of businesses that we work with kind of forget about Pinterest. Pinterest can work really well for certain types of businesses. It may not be like everybody's jam, but the way to think about Pinterest is basically like another search engine. So how I would recommend posting like no one's watching on Pinterest is you really have to keep in mind that it's a long game, it's SEO'd, and it will take some time. So again, with the like don't check for like 6 months, you want to do the same thing with Pinterest, but you want to keep kind of throwing content at it. So it does like a lot of pins. So you want to do, and we kind of do these in batches and then schedule them, but you want to do like 5 or 10 pins a day, ideally. If you can't do that, do like 15 a week. Maybe I would say like try to get a good chunk onto Pinterest. And these can all be pins that are very similar. Like they all maybe leave and link back to the same blog or source or product or whatever, but you're changing up the photo. It has to be different at least, I believe it has to be different at least 20%. So the pin has to be a different graphic and different copy, at least 20% different. And the other thing is that the graphics, there's specific like SEO tricks for Pinterest. So the name of the picture matters on Pinterest.
So I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
I did not know
Oh
that.
my God. Okay. Yes. So naming your images, like SEOing, keyword SEOing, like all parts of your pin is really important on Pinterest.
I will say I have a personal story around this, and I'm going to pull my phone up and check this while we are chatting. I started pinning my personal brand content a year ago, and it is definitely a long game. I'm actually looking to see, and I make money off it every day. So if you're an e-commerce company, definitely be putting things on Pinterest. Since I'm a personal brand, I link back to clothes that I wear on Pinterest. I link back to blogs that I've written about I'm on a GLP-1 journey. I've lost weight. Here are the tools that have helped me. I've pinned those things. Well, I've done affiliate marketing for brands that I actually love and done blogs on that. But it has been like the last thing I get to, but I make money off it. I make maybe anywhere from $300 to $400 a month. And it could probably be more if I concentrated it on more. So last year I was getting around like 10,000 views a month on my Pinterest. Right now it says 80, you can't see this, but it says 82,000 monthly views.
Yeah.
If I just worked on a better long form strategy, I would probably be making more money on Pinterest on things I authentically love.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great way to do like audience research. Like, what is your audience liking and pinning, and what else are they searching? It gives you a lot of analytics that are really fun to kind of dive into, and it gives you more content ideas too. Like the more you see what your audience responds to, and you can have 5 pins on the same topic, but they're gravitating towards a certain one, then take that one and see how you can do that over and over and over again. Like either for your other content, for your other pins, or for the same piece of content, but like revamp it again. When you are thinking about what it is that you're pinning on Pinterest, it's really great. It's ideal to do pins that are back to long form content or back to a product. So to get that sale, or any kind of evergreen content. So you can do topical things for sure, like Pinterest trends. People definitely do that. But in order to kind of capture that like long-term game effect, you want to think about what is it that is going to be around either in your shop, on your site, whatever, like in your feed, something that you're still talking about, even like 3, 6, a year, 12 months down the road. I was really doing Pinterest a lot when I started food blogging, and I have pins on my old account that like still get thousands of views.
Oh,
like, this blog is like 10 years old.
Yes, there was a kombucha one you did that I used for my kombucha recipe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So food, like fashion, event, like anything around events, like wedding planning, all that kind of stuff is amazing on Pinterest. The other thing I like to remind clients is and we kind of already talked about this, but that Pinterest is that like, it's another search engine. Yes, it's in this category of social media, but it's not really social. It's more about search.
The search wins at all
Yes.
times. So LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn.
Let's chat LinkedIn. How do you bring personality forward on a platform like LinkedIn? And I feel like LinkedIn is the most underutilized one of these 4. In fact, I am so guilty of not logging into LinkedIn every day like I should. I might log in once a week. How should you go about LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn, you can think of it as another place where your personal brand is shining through. So it's hard because it's like the professional like corner of social media. And so people get kind of like in their heads about being authentic on LinkedIn. I think that's really where, if you're, a business leader, a personal brand, a thought leader, like being authentic and letting your voice shine through on LinkedIn is really what's going to make a difference there. If you're just going into LinkedIn and kind of regurgitating like corporate speak, it's not really going to be that exciting to people. That's what I would say is, sharing things on LinkedIn from your company page, but then being sure to add your personal take on it is important.
Or the other thing I like to do is, instead of sharing it from like the dash page, is just basically take the post and make it my own post. And sometimes I feel that those do better than sharing it.
Yeah.
It definitely helps your company if you share the page, but if you take that post and make it your own, that was something that we did with a client last year, is we basically would make the post their own post that they would sign off on, and we'd post for them. And that makes you that thought leader. And that's the big thing with LinkedIn as being a thought leader.
Yeah, completely. LinkedIn has some other areas, like you can write articles on LinkedIn that are like kind of having a blog. So there's like newsletters that you can have within LinkedIn that people can subscribe to, certain topics and different things. So you could test those things out, but I go back to the biggest bang for your buck, really, and like getting the most traction, which to me is going back to the website. So if I were going to post on LinkedIn, I would make a post, add my spin. Like I have the post in there, but I also have sort of like a personal take or what I really loved about this was something that they're getting some of my personality out of it. And then I will link back to the source on our website because I ultimately want to grow our website's SEO more than I want to grow LinkedIn's articles SEO, right? So, but you can test those things out and see what your audience likes.
I have seen people like not put the link in the LinkedIn itself, like when they post, but they also go and they put in the first comment. I do know that Facebook and Instagram allow you to do that in scheduling platforms. I need to go see if LinkedIn allows you to do that in scheduling platforms because I feel like when I did that, the traffic to the website was better and the reach of the post was better.
In the first comment?
Yeah, I don't think scheduling platforms let you do that on LinkedIn. I'm not for sure on that. I need to go research that. But when I did that one time, there was one person that did not like that, but everybody else seemed to like it. They were like, why are you posting the link? It's counterintuitive. And I'm like, trying to get better reach here.
Yeah. Sometimes the algorithm will kind of downgrade things like that towards like, oh, you're just sharing a link. Like you're not giving a personal opinion or a hot take. So then that's why they kind of will like decide your position. So I think it is worth like A/B testing. I think for all of these things, experiment with it. But again, do something consistently for 6 months before you start playing around with it because you're not really going to know. You won't have a good metric.
So YouTube is one of those that I have so many people that will say, why aren't you doing long form content on YouTube? But I feel that the long form content is more highly produced, is a little less accessible than Instagram and Facebook's video content. And an easy way to step into that posting on YouTube is shorts. For example, this podcast will go on YouTube. This is our long form content on YouTube. This podcast will also go on our website too. That actually helps with SEO when we do that because if somebody jumps to the page, they stay longer and it drives our page time up.
Yeah.
So if you want to jump into YouTube, that's a little different than Facebook and Instagram. You can post your shorts. You can post your reels as shorts on there. They've now I think you can post as, under 2 minutes in shorts, but one long form a week is probably good enough. But just remember, the aesthetic on YouTube is going to be a little bit different. And that sometimes is the last thing somebody wants to do. I feel like if you're going to rank all these things, work on the other ones before you get to the long form YouTube.
I would agree. Try to have the priorities be what can you repurpose. In my opinion.
Yes. So if you're posting shorts, if you're posting reels to Instagram, you can also post those shorts to YouTube. That's what I do, is I just post them there. I use a scheduling platform to get that done. That's the best way to do it instead of doing it all from your phone, which can be kind of chaotic. So yeah. So I'm realizing now we haven't talked about TikTok.
Yes. Let's talk about TikTok.
So a lot of creators that I know and a lot of businesses I know are kind of afraid to go on TikTok because it's a little bit different platform. And right now, as of today, what is performing on TikTok isn't exactly what's performing on Instagram. TikTok is definitely putting a priority on anything TikTok shop. I could post the same content on Instagram that I post to TikTok and get 0 views. But if I put a link to a product, they blow it up 20 times. So when it comes to TikTok, I focus on the storytelling, that FaceTime with a friend, and then TikTok shop stuff. Now, it's really hard to get samples from TikTok shop now. So if anybody wants to do TikTok shop stuff, I always tell them, hey, if you want to do TikTok shop stuff, look for things that you have in your home that are on TikTok. I noticed the other day that this fleece zip up that I got at Old Navy was on TikTok shop, and I did 3 videos on it.
Oh, nice.
I haven't seen if I've made any money, but the whole thing was I absolutely love that fleece jacket. I could authentically talk about it. and I did this is how I styled the fleece jacket. I also put that on Instagram, but I'll notice like the content is definitely different on TikTok. They love lives. If you want to gain followers on TikTok, live is the best place to do it. They like anything TikTok shop because they make money from it. And of course they're going to show it, and anything that's telling a story. I like to every week or so do a couple posts on being a UGC content creator. I don't want to be a UGC content creator educator at all, but I feel like sharing that journey there helps other people that are in that. And sometimes I'll ask a question and I'll get comments back about things, but TikTok is kind of a whole different beast from Facebook and Instagram. So it's more storytelling, it's more e-commerce driven, and live is king there.
So how many times should someone post per week on TikTok? And also, how long should they wait to see results?
So it's going to be like that post like no one's watching thing. I know some creators that are TikTok first content creators, meaning they build their platform or their marketing around TikTok, and Instagram and Facebook are the fallout of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think what you need to do is to pick between Meta and TikTok, and which one is going to be, for me, honestly, and it's not going to be the same for everybody. I get better engagement on Instagram. So I'm not a TikTok first person. I'm an Instagram first. Though I have I have a higher following, but the engagement's better on Instagram. So when brands want to work with me, I show them Instagram.
Yeah.
I have a 10% engagement rate per post, which is a high rate. On TikTok, it's really low.
Yeah. So thinking about your strategy, where your audience is, and the kind of content that they want to consume, I think is a good reminder and gauge here where you're at. What platform you're really creating content for is a good reminder too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we gave some really good tips per platform of how do you actually go about posting like no one's watching. We also have a resource that I will mention. Since we talked about social and we talked about SEO, we have a class on our website where we did a webinar on social search, and it's only $17. So you can go to our website, contentco.com, and get that. We also have a Think Like a Content Creator class and some free downloads as well. So there's some resources on our website that are really inexpensive and give more great tips like this.
So if you love these tips, follow the Cringe Mountain Diaries for more tips. Click that follow button and subscribe for more.